Today, I want to take a little time and step through some of the real strengths of the Leostream platform. What we always tell people is that one of the strengths of Leostream is that we can solve a lot of complex remote access and connection management problems that the other solutions out there just can't handle. So what are some of those, and how do you set them up at a high level in the connection broker and the Leostream platform? Well, here you see the different problems that we usually like to highlight. The first is on-premises hosted desktops. Now, obviously, everyone has been doing VDI in one shape or another for years now, and there are plenty of full stack solutions out there. So why might you look for Leostream when you're talking about on-premises hosted desktop management? Well, the nice things that Leostreams bring to the table there is the breadth of support for different display protocols, which kind of leads into the second item you see here, which is the support for graphics intense workloads. So even if you have only on-premises resources, Leostream is a great solution for you for providing remote access to those and being able to mix and match protocols. So let's look a little bit at the broker and show, okay, what are the important features inside of the connection broker that play to on-premises hosted desktops and graphics intense workloads. So to show that, let me switch to sharing my screen. So here you see the web interface for the Leostream connection broker, and I'm going to log in as the main administrator. And users can use this web interface as well, and we'll show that here in a second. So I'm going to go ahead and sign in. Now, the way the dashboard is set up here is essentially just menus down the left. And I'm going to start by looking at the setup section here. In the setup section, this is where you're going to connect Leostream to all of the other pieces in your hosted desktop solution. Right now, we're talking about on-premises, so I want to show you how to hook it up to vCenter in this example. To do that, you come to centers here. Now, a center in Leostream is any external system that Leostream interfaces using the APIs provided by that platform. So here you see we have vCenter Server 7 set up. And so I can edit here, and you can see how simple it is to add in vCenter to your Leostream environment. You can also talk directly to your vSphere or ESXi servers if that's better for you because you don't have vCenter Server installed. But if you do work directly with vCenter Server, this really gives you the full breadth of functionality that Leostream provides for VMware environments. That includes provisioning from snapshots, so you can provision link clones, provisioning from templates for the full clones, and obviously all the power control and assignment capability that Leostream already has. So you hook us up to a center that gives you the VMware environment. Now we want to talk about, so if I want to connect to virtual machines in VMware using maybe a high-performance display protocol, how do I do that? Perhaps I have some vSpheres that have virtual GPUs, and so I want to actually run graphics intense workloads on those. To look at that, I'm going to go down here into the configuration section and look at protocol plans. A protocol plan tells the connection broker, how am I going to connect users to a machine that they are offered by Leostream? So here you see I have a number of different protocols set up just to highlight all of the different options that we do support. When you're talking about graphics intense workloads, we have a support for NICE DCV. This is a great option for when you're working with AWS. We'll talk about cloud environments here in a little bit, but it works for on-premises environments as well. You can purchase NICE DCV licenses from AWS and actually run them on-prem. Other options for high-performance workloads include Mach9 TGX. We see this pop up a lot in the oil and gas industry, and increasingly so in media and entertainment. Speed and media and entertainment, we do see obviously a lot of HPZ Central Remote Boost in those environments as well as the PC over IP protocol. All of those options work within Leostream. And again, you can mix and match them. So if you have some users that will go up to AWS, they can connect using DCV. Perhaps you have some cloud access software on-prem. All works seamlessly from the end user's perspective. And a lot of these options also work through our Leostream Gateway. So you notice, just as an example, I have a NoMachine option here. NoMachine is another protocol, very good if you're talking about access to Mac OS. So if you have hosted, maybe you have a suite of Mac Minis, or you just have users who have Macs on their desk, you can use NoMachine to connect them remotely to those from Leostream logins. And you notice those connections can in fact go through the Leostream Gateway, as can NICE DCV. Skilled Cloud Workstation is another high performance display protocol that we now have support for as well. So that's a little bit about VMware and graphics intense workloads. Let's look at what's next on our list. The other thing that Leostream really excels at is secure access. And there's two items here, secure remote access and zero trust access. And I'm going to take different angles when I talk about these. For secure remote access, this is that gateway that I was talking about. The Leostream Gateway allows you to provide access to your on-prem resources for users who are remote, so at home or perhaps traveling. And it does that without requiring you to install a VPN. So it gives you a very easy way and less expensive way to provide remote access for users. As I mentioned, the gateway does support all the different display protocols for the high performance graphics intense workloads, but it also includes a built-in HTML5 viewer that does RDP, VNC, and SSH. And that's a great option if you have users with Chromebooks or they have locked down devices where you can't install any software on them. In that case, the users can use their web browser and just log directly into Leostream and launch the connection in browser. In addition to the in-browser HTML5 options that are built directly into the gateway, some of these high-performance protocols have an HTML5 option as well. So DCV, NoMachine, Skilled Cloud Workstation, those are high-performance protocols that can actually be connected in browser for that clientless access. That clientless access, that's great for these zero-trust environments. You don't want to install software on the user's clients or ask them to install software or download anything. So you can use these in-browser options for that. The other things that are great in Leostream for supporting zero-trust access is our integration with SAML identity providers and various other MFA providers. So to look at that, I'm going to go back to my broker and just show you a little bit of our SAML integration. So back into setup, because I'm integrating with an external system here. Now there's two different places where you set up different authentication methods here. In authentication servers, this is more or less for username password authentication. Active Directory, obviously you can use Active Directory for username password authentication. We do support Open LDAP and even NIS if you happen to have older Linux environments that leverage NIS. Those are great for a first factor of username and password where Leostream is performing that authentication against the authentication server. Now, obviously, if Leostream is performing that authentication, that requires the user to enter their password into the Leostream login. Perhaps that's fine if your user's on-prem, because now there's no passwords going over the internet. You're all on your internal network anyway. But now what about when your users go remote? Here's where you don't want their passwords going over the internet, so you want to secure your Leostream environment behind your SAML-based IDP. And so that is here. I happen to be using Okta in this particular demo environment. But any identity provider that supports SAML, you can use as a front end to Leostream. So I have a different connection broker that I actually have behind Google. So I can enter in my Gmail account and then log into Leostream from there. Works great with Azure MFA as a SAML provider as well. So you can actually have these two systems working side by side. And the neat thing is, as I mentioned, you might want to allow username and password from on-prem for simplicity, but require the SAML login from off-prem. And you can do that using Leostream's concepts of locations. So I go back into the configuration section. Here, there's a location area here. So I've created a few locations, and a location is essentially just a group of client devices, and you define what should be in there. In my case, I have a remote user's location, and it's saying anyone who's coming through my gateway. I have a Leostream gateway that's forwarding login traffic for remote users to the connection broker. The fact that the connection is coming from the gateway appears in the HTTP header of the user's client, so the broker knows this is a user that's coming through the gateway. They must be coming remote. And then I also have one for on-premises. In the case of my on-premises users, they can log directly into the broker because the broker's on their network. So now the HTTP header contains the broker's address instead of the gateway's. So by having your DNS route internal users to the broker while external users go through the gateway, you can separate them out into locations inside of Leostream. And then you can use those locations to indicate if they go through, they have to come in through Okta or your SAML provider, or if they can log in directly through Active Directory. So here, if you see the way I've done that, the assignment rules here in Leostream essentially look at who the user is and where they come from, and then give them the policy, which says what do they have access to. Well, if they fall through all the rows and they go to the default says go ahead and block the login. So if you look at how this reads, anyone coming from a Leostream Connect client, which is our software client, they can come in and get a policy. Anyone from an on-prem web browser, they can get a policy. But if they try to log in from off-prem, they're going to fall through and they're going to get blocked. And you can actually see that in action. If I go here, you know, I have my gateway address. So I'm going to try and log in as an end user with my gateway, and it's actually going to block the login. Now, from the user, you don't necessarily want to provide the user with too much information as to what happened, because nefarious people can figure out ways around that. So we just say, look, invalid username and password, that's all they know, and they can bash at it all they want and they'll never get in. But now, same user comes in from broker, and now I'm in. So how does a user from external get in then? You notice I had actually put that /login URL in there, which goes to the username password sign. Additionally, what you would want for your external users is you actually direct them directly to the gateway, and Leostream will automatically forward that into your SAML-based IDP. So through some fancy DNS maneuvering, basically you'll take that login URL and redirect it right here. So externally, they'd never get to the login URL anyway. And then I can come in here and log into Okta, and now I don't have access to this broker. But if I did, I would have seen the login page. I think Milo does. Let's do a different user so you can see that. So that is the thing with the SAML. What you want to do is have not only, I'd have to log out of my Okta account, you want to make sure that not only does the user have permission to log into Leostream, but obviously your SAML-based IDP needs to say, yes, Leostream is an application that this IDP is allowed to send the redirect the user to. And all of that is written in our SAML user guides that you can download from our website. Okay. Oh, I do want to mention one last thing on the authentication. So MFA providers here, if you are using username and password authentication and you do want a second factor, you can do that through any identity provider that supports Radius. And so Okta, again, you can set up an Okta Radius agent to talk to Okta. We do also have native Duo support. So if you are using Duo and you have web browser logins, you can do that through Duo as well. So many, many different ways to, and workflows, I should say, that you can support for authentication to secure access and work within zero trust environments. All right, what's next? Hybrid and multi-cloud environments. This goes back to those centers that we were talking about at the very beginning. So let's go back to this broker. If I look at centers, you see that the centers that I have all three clouds here: Azure, AWS, Google Cloud Platform. We also support OpenStack. I have my vCenter here. This enrolled desktops, basically any hosting platform or for physical workstations, if we don't provide a center that inventories it, all you need to do is stick our Leostream agent on it, and it will enroll with the broker through the agent. And then you have that desktop in the Leostream environment, and you can manage connections using all the release plan, protocol plan, and power control plan options that we provide for everything else. The key about a hybrid or multi-cloud environment is really just about the networking. To get the best experience out of your Leostream environment, you want to ensure that Leostream agents installed on the VMs, whether they be in the cloud or on-prem or physical workstations, whatever your hosted desktop is, the agent on there needs to be able to communicate with your broker, and the broker needs to be able to communicate back. And depending on the cloud you're using, there's different ways to do that. And perhaps you actually have a direct connect to an AWS region. That works out obviously very well. You can also have VPN connections between Azure and your internal network so that the agents and broker can talk that way. The key is just networking. The support is there for all of these different platforms, and they will all work seamlessly side by side. And that really, the last point on there, I won't go back to the slides, but the last point on there was about future-proofing your environment. And really, it's the key is the fact that we can add all of these platforms and we can support all the different protocols. It is very straightforward for us as a development team to add support for new technologies as they come to market. And the nice thing is you can then add them into your Leostream environment, run them side by side with whatever you have as you transition to something new, try different technologies out to figure out which one works best. And your end users never experience anything different as far as where they go to access their resources, what that portal looks like, and what their experience is working with it. Because what we've seen through the years of working with various customers is the end user acceptance is critical, and nobody likes change. So if you can maintain an environment that doesn't change for the end users while you are allowed to change what's in your data center behind it, that's a very powerful tool for you moving forward, because technologies always change and things will always evolve. So with all that said, I know I moved around a lot through the UI. There's a lot that you can do in here. If you have questions, you want to give it a try, just feel free to contact us at sales@leostream.com. Thanks.